Hey everybody, I'm Oakley at Oakley Does Everything, and today we're going to take this roughly 100-year-old dining room chair set, take it completely apart, and put them back together again, so stay tuned. So here we have this Chippendale style dining room chair, and if you've seen any of my previous videos, we have already done the dining room table, and this is one of the 6 chairs that came with it. In this video, we're just going to be taking everything apart. We're going to remove the upholstery, remove all the cushions, springs, everything inside of that. We're going to separate all of the joints from the entire frame, and then we're going to glue it back together. We're going to clean, restain, and reupholster these chairs in a different video, but for this video, it's just disassembling, reconstructing. So the first thing we need to do is remove the upholstery, and to do that we're going to have to flip the chair upside down and remove a boatload of staples. To remove all these staples and nails and tacks, you're going to want a thin pry bar. I have this, and you'll want a pair of needle nose pliers, and maybe a really small flathead screwdriver also is helpful. It's also nice having at least a pair of gloves for whatever your dominant hand is, because after holding this for a long time, your flat bar or whatever, unless you have a handle, your hand does tend to get pretty sore, so it's nice to wear gloves with this. Now, let's get started. Now we're going to flip the chair back upright and turn our attention towards these tacks up here. Now these are functional tacks, they're not just glued on or anything, and we need to remove those next. Again, you're just going to keep using your pry bar, and then with your pair of pliers, pull them the rest of the way out. Alright, now we're going to flip it back upside down and continue to remove the staples on the underside. So now we have basically all the staples out for the upholstery. We're going to flip this over, and I'll show you some other things we need to look at before we can take the upholstery completely off. Now right here on the corner, this crease is actually stitched together, so there's a string in there. But like I said, we're going to be removing this, and underneath here are some staples, so we're just going to carefully remove those as well. And then you just do that one at a time, gradually pull this out, find them, carefully remove them, and then that way we don't ruin anything more than is necessary. So even though we've already taken out a ton of staples and nails, the upholstery is not quite ready to come off yet. But we will be able to lift it up over the cushion, and then we'll be able to remove the cotton and horsehair batting that are underneath of this. This we are going to use again. So here we are, we're going to remove this. You want to try and preserve the majority of it as best as you can. And that comes out real well. So we have a layer of cotton, and on the underside are a few more layers of cotton as well as horsehair. So we're going to set this aside, and then we'll finish taking off the upholstery. Alright, the last thing, there's a strip of cardstock or cardboard back here with a bunch of staples holding the back part of the upholstery down. So again, remove that, and then that fabric will be able to come off. Now, basically all that's left on this chair is the burlap top, the springs on the inside and the burlap strips on the bottom side. And so we're going to go ahead and move around the entire bottom and remove all the staples, nails, and everything. Alright, so I have all the nails and tacks out, and now it's time to go ahead and remove these burlap strips. I don't know if it's original or not, but somebody strung some twine through it. So I'm just going to take a pair of scissors, snip these, pull them out, and then we should be able to remove the burlap. Now we have all of our upholstery parts off and looking at this from the underside. And as you can see, however long this has been sitting this way, there's tons and tons of dust in here. So we're just gonna go ahead and turn on the vacuum cleaner, put the hose on it, and suck that up. Alright, the last thing to do for the upholstery part of it, flip it over and take off the top burlap. Alright, now we just have this twine that's being held down by a few more nails all around the rim. So that's holding the springs in place, so we'll go ahead and remove those. After we pull the springs out, we're going to go around and find any more nails that are still left in the chair and just remove those. Alright, so we have the chair down bare, basically. What we are going to move on to is actually disassembling the chair, removing the joints from each other, and the first thing that we need to do is remove these cross beams right here. When we do that, they may not come off right away because they are glued in addition to being screwed in. And then we'll go ahead and get out the spreader clamps and take this thing apart. So here I have a set of clamps, but these are also spreader clamps, and so I'm just going to set these in here, get them situated. I'm going to start by separating the box part from the back part. Alright, and then we're just going to slowly start spreading these apart, trying to apply even pressure as we do it. Okay, so there's our first one. That one just came undone easily. Go. And be careful not to let it all fall down on you. And now at this point we can go ahead and start wiggling some of these pieces apart, and you may need to use a vise or a wood clamp to do that, but there you go. Try not to hit yourself in the throat like I just did. So I'm going to put this in the vise, let it do the holding for me, and I can wiggle this piece off. Try to get it as close to the joint as possible just to kind of keep it sturdy, and just wiggle it and hopefully it comes. Now if it doesn't come, there's a trick that you can do to help this along. You can actually take a wedge and then find the spots where it is coming apart, stick it in there, and then just use that to pry it back a little bit. There we go. Okay. Now because we couldn't wiggle this apart or use our wedge method to have this separated, we do have one more option, and that is what I refer to as gentle persuasion. So I just have an extension here, I place it right up to that joint, and then I give it some light taps of the mallet, and now I can see that it's starting to separate a bit. We'll do the same thing on the other end. Bringing our attention back over to the back part of the chair, we do have a couple different joints in this piece that we have to separate. The first one's being up here. Then we have down here. This back part here is also a joint, or this separates from here. We're gonna go ahead, put our spreader clamps right here, and again, evenly press out with it to release these joints. Now some of the other ones that I've done so far, some of them have actually cracked up in the scroll part, and if that happens, that's okay. It's not gonna be that big of a deal. So again, even pressure. Well then, that was a bit more exciting than I expected. So just like I thought it would, it did disconnect higher up than the actual joints. And again, we can take care of that without too much of an issue. All right, now we can go ahead and move down to this piece and separate this from that. And here you do want a spreader clamp on both sides of it. If we only use one, it's likely to bow outwards. So that's why we're going to use two and keep it even. Okay, and I just felt it slip down here. Right, and just like the process of separating the other part of the chair, we can go ahead and put this piece in a clamp and start separating this from that. All right, now moving on to the scroll piece to try and get this joint disconnected. What I've done on other pieces is I've just taken this little rubber padding, I'll wrap it around here, stick it in my vise, and then just kind of gently twist it back and forth to release from this wooden dowel. So, yep, okay, so just some gentle twisting. And if the dowel pin does break, that's not a big deal because we're going to be removing that anyways. Just off the way I hear it crackling in there, like that, I can tell that the dowel isn't releasing itself, so right now we're just kind of cracking it. And this is the more aggressive way to do this. Definitely not like the most highly recommended way to do this, but we did get that separated. So let's go ahead and do the same thing to the other post. And this is what it looks like all taken apart. So now we're ready to move on to the next step. Hey everybody, I'm just jumping in here. I was editing this video and it was getting pretty long, so I thought I would separate it into a couple different parts, and we are going to end this video here at this point. Thank you all so much for watching. I very much appreciate it. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to the channel. That button's right there in the middle. If you want to see other restoration projects like this, there's a playlist right there, and for my most recent video, that's right there. But other than that, I'll see you on the next video. Have a great day. Bye.